welcome, and let me share my screen, might as well. So welcome to How to Increase Student Engagement on Zoom. I am your host, Alex Dejan. In this possibly 2-hour workshop, I'm going to talk about some tips on how you can get students to be more involved for any of you who are teaching online synchronous classes. A couple things. So if you look on the second slide, I do have an agenda. If you notice everything that's in blue, that's because on my slides, like the agenda is like also counts as like the table of contents. So that way, if you want to jump to one particular area, like if I'm explaining something and you don't know where I'm at, you could just go back to the agenda and then click the hyperlink that goes like within that. So for those of you wondering why there's so many like hyperlinks on the agenda slide, it's because I've made internal hyperlinks to like anchor sections for people who might have trouble like going through slides, things like that. Also, all right, so here's the agenda. I'll spend the first 10 minutes, going over some of the meeting details, ways I want you to interact if possible. I'll talk about myself for a bit. I'm going to have all of you put stuff in the chat because we do, aside from the fact that all of you registered, we do need to like take attendance in other ways also. And we're going to start with an icebreaker. After that, I will spend about 15 to 20 minutes going over different Zoom tools that you could use. And for some of you who may not know how to use them, I'll also show you how to like activate them through your account settings. Then a majority of this workshop is going to be me going over some tips along with having breakout discussions to sort of help us figure out, whatever tips I tell all of you, how do you use that in your own classes? Because one of the big things is that like not all advice works for everybody. So part of what the workshop today will be to interact with your colleagues and figure out, what tip works for you, what tip doesn't, right? And then lastly, during the last 15 or 30 minutes, we'll have like reflections. Having said that, I'm a very big believer in active learning. So I love stuff in chat. I am always looking at reactions and everything. So I love as much like participation as possible. If some of you are just here to like listen in, please let me know in the chat right now. So that way I know who of you are going to be sort of like passive learners versus the active learners. So first thing are introductions. In case any of you like, you don't know me type of stuff. Ooh. So before anything, a couple of, thank you, Rita. I love the laugh reaction. I love the reactions. So a few things on how to participate. A lot of you don't have your cameras on. That's okay. For the most part, I don't force students to like have cameras on or anything like that. Thank you, person who DM'd me. I appreciate you telling me that. So at the bare minimum, if you want to participate without like having to turn your mic or camera on, use the chat. Like the chat feature has a lot of stuff turned on. You can do direct messages to me or other people in case one of your coworkers from your own department is here and you want to have like a side conversation. Cool with that. You could also put like emojis in the chat. No problem also. Okay, cool. So if you want to put like an emoji in the chat, like you type in colon and you might start typing in like thumbs up and then end colon and then boom. You could do emojis in the chat also. You could also do direct messages. If you have something like specific you want to ask me privately, or again, if you want to have side conversations with people, you could do that. And there's also a file upload option. So maybe like towards the end or during breakout rooms, if there's stuff like files you want to share with the other workshop participants, you can like upload files as well. Oh my goodness, person who just DM'd me about how you're multitasking, good for you. That's the beauty of it. The other thing, if any of you do want to like participate by like talking, please use the raise hand reaction so I know like who to focus on. Also, you can use nonverbal reactions. I don't know if we're viewing all of your screen, but like a couple of you are just putting reactions and everything. Don't worry about the I'm away about the I'm aware reaction because it's deactivated right now. But for those who don't know, there is a reaction. There is a reaction. We'll talk about this later on. That will just stay there and show people that like you're sort of AFK. So who am I? My name is Alex Dejan. I am a communication studies instructor. I'm actually, my home campus now is LA Harbor College. But why am I here at ELAC? Because I started teaching in the district at ELAC. ELAC is the first campus I ever taught at. I still sort of teach Zoom. I still teach Zoom classes there for my department. In terms of what my favorite lesson is, I absolutely love teaching language. I love teaching students how to use euphemisms or how to use like rhetorical devices so the things they say always sound succinct. That's right. And the one thing I love is dank memes. You're gonna see a lot of decorative images on my slides. Multiple of them are memes because I think they're really funny. I'm gonna wait a minute before I move on. And I know I'm gonna wait a minute because, by the way, the thing I'm showing on the screen is the question. He's a DC hero. Are there apps? Oh yeah, okay. So I'm gonna put like a 1-minute timer just in case any of you do have a question, but it takes time to mull it over. So I'm trying to put like the app timer right now. Wait, let me stop sharing. Where's the timer? I'm going to show you something right now. So one of the features that you can use on Zoom is there are apps. The basic one that we have access to is a timer. And sorry, I'm going to like put this up. Right. Am I pointing at the timer, by the way? For anybody who's like actually look, okay, sweet. Okay. So there you go. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Huang. Thank you for that nonverbal feedback. Thank you, Mark. Oh, I like the thumbs up, right? So a teaching, sometimes teachers ask, oh, any questions? You wait 3 seconds and then like you don't do anything. And then like, okay, let me move on. I'm going to wait the rest of the 30 seconds in case any of you do have a question. I'm going to commit to that minute. Thank you, Teresita. I appreciate the nonverbal feedback. Although I never, oh, what's up, Deborah? So Zoom.
So I look terrible, but I know how bad it is not to get feedback, not to see the faces going, what? Or something. So
oh,
here
no.
you go.
So I literally tell people you could straight up keep your camera off because, some people are passive learners. Some people, chime in, like jump in, but like don't do stuff. So I'm okay with that. But Deborah, thank you for turning on your camera. I appreciate that. For you, Carolyn, so if on the Zoom toolbar, like you'll see the share screen button, chat button, you'll see an apps button that looks, hold on, let me annotate this. Booyah. And then once you click the app button, a pop-up window will appear with a list of apps. The only app that the district actually like has for us is the timer app. But to your question, Carolyn, how do you like use the timer app? Click the apps button on your toolbar. Yes, there's another comm studies person in here. Hey, Elizabeth, thank you for like showing up. Sorry, I get hyped when like, ooh, she's one of my people. I like that. All right, sorry. So let me move on. So I'm going to go over some Zoom tools. So not only the app stuff, which by the way, Deborah and Carolyn, I'm glad you asked because I didn't even have that. I don't even have that in my slides. Oh, speaking of slides, my bad. Let me put this in. So for those of you who jumped in late, if you want to follow along with me, I do have my presentation on Google Slides. Right now, I am on slide 9, Zoom tools. Really quickly though, in order to change your your settings before you do a meeting, you need to go to https://laccd.zoom.us to edit account settings, because there are in meeting settings you can change, but the tools I'm talking about exist in your faculty account. So in order to turn these on, you have to go to laccd.zoom.us, log in with your credentials, and then you can turn these features on or off if you want. So in terms of certain settings I have turned on to improve functionality, one of them is meeting chat, right? Because in case somebody can't have their phone, their camera and mic on, and then but I still want them to participate, the meeting chat is there. I also allow screen sharing because I have students do presentations, nonverbal feedback. So can I get some people giving me some like nonverbal? Okay, yeah, thank you, Deborah. Can I get some like nonverbal feedback reactions from like some of you, well, whose cameras are off? Oh, thank you, Rita. Thank you, Patricia. Oh, Patricia. Yeah. Oh, you're doing a unique one. Thank you, Aaron. All right. Right. Like again, for the most part, those are already on by default. You could turn those off though. I just leave that on. Oh, Clara, you're doing the emoji. Wait, where are my sunglasses? No, okay. Sorry, I get caught up in like when I see cool stuff. There's also reactions, breakout rooms, a full transcript. So and local recordings. And I'll talk about those in a bit. Now, how do I use these settings to improve student engagement? Here's how. So for the meeting chat, specifically in the setting, I do have this setting turned on to allow save chat. So if students are having a discussion or I'm lecturing about things, or there's something I want students to save and submit on Canvas, they can like highlight things and like copy and paste it, or they could click the save chat like button. That is something that you would have to turn on because sometimes in meetings, like you're trying to copy something from the chat history or the chat box and you can't. The reason why is because allow save chat has not been activated. In terms of screen sharing, I pretty much I turn on allow all participants to use screen share. So one of the things a lot of you talked about was students who have tech issues. And it's really hard to troubleshoot tech issues unless like you see the problem. So aside from my discipline of they have to screen share to to do a presentation, if a student has a problem, I'll tell them, oh hey, share your screen and then we'll walk through like fixing this problem together. I also have like all emojis turned on. They're not on right now, like for this setting, for this meeting. But like there are a whole slew of emojis students can use as nonverbal feedback, as reactions. And then specifically recording. So right now, this meeting is being recorded in the cloud right now, but there's also a local recording option. And for the local recording option, I specifically turn on allow participant recording because one way of like how do we make sure students are like doing things that they're communicating in breakout rooms is for my classes specifically, I require students to record their breakout room conversations because I will give them a discussion topic and they have to like record the meeting, jump into the breakout room, talk with their classmates, and then leave the meeting and then turn that in as proof that they participated in class. Some people don't like that because giving students the ability to like save and record locally some people have brought up to me that that might be a FERPA issue, but in terms of creating an incentive and disincentive to get students to communicate, they could do that. Yes, thank you. All right, thank you for putting in the name, Deborah. So let's try some of this stuff out right now. There are other things. So there's the new meeting chat experience. So if you look right now, boom. So with the new meeting chat experience, for those who are looking at chat, I just sort of replied to Deborah's thing in the chat right now with a fire reaction. Because with the new meeting chat, you could do reply threads. So, and I'm just gonna start liking stuff. So hit like a muscle, and then Carolyn, for your question about the timer, I'm gonna put yes. So that way, if people have like conversations or people want to reply specifically to what somebody said, but make sure it's publicly available, you could also do that. There are also polls. I'm not going to do a poll right now because I don't have anything like that. You can do annotations. And you have like sort of the whiteboard option. So there are lots of other things. Quick note, on the slide, it says that the new meeting chat experience is glitchy. Right now, there's an issue where if you have the new meeting chat experience turned on, for some reason, if you go from like a main room to a breakout room, it erases everything in the chat for some reason. So just keep that in mind. Right now, there is a slight technical issue with the new meeting chat experience. But in terms of getting people to participate and like use chat more, the new meeting chat experience is like a cooler way and a better way of communicating via the chat. Okay, oh, let me show you, Deborah. So again, in order to go to like the new meeting chat experience, so I'm in my account right now. If I want to change that setting, I'm going to go to settings. And again, a lot of these things are based off of your account things. So you have to go to laccd.zoom.us. For right now, I'm just going to go in settings. I'm going to like type in chat. So there's meeting basic chat, and I'll scroll down to this one, new meeting chat experience. I don't have that turned on right now, like for my own account, because I have students go on, but like if I wanted to have this feature turned on, I would just toggle this on. And there were extra features you could do with the new meeting chat experience. But to your question, how do you activate the new meeting chat experience? You go to your account profile, like through laccd.zoom.us, you go to settings, then you sort of either scroll down to that specific section, or you can search in the chat for that. Sound good? Cool. Thank you, Deborah. Appreciate that feedback. Let me go back to. Ooh, Patricia asked a question. So Patricia asked, when you have students record themselves, say during a group participation task, do they submit the captions, or is it a video recording that's created? It is a video recording that is created. The way they do captions, though, well, let me go to one of my classes. Actually, let me stop sharing real quick, because I actually don't know the answer to this. So for your question, Patricia, I can show you an example of it. Would that be a FERPA violation if I just showed you, like if I showed you, oh, here's how my students turn in the recordings? I very sincerely do not know. Okay, Deborah, like you're nodding your head, yes.
I'm just following the conversation. I don't know the answer. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay. All right, I'm going to show you anyway. And if I accidentally am doing a FERPA violation, I am going to like edit this out from the saved recording, just so y'all know. And then nobody snitch on me, please, because I like having my job. I like teaching. Okay, so when they record locally, so if you allow participant recording, it saves, like when the meeting is over, once they leave the meeting, it will save to their computer. The way I have my students turn in their work, I'm really hoping this class did the assignment, is they will take the recording that's saved on their computer and then upload it onto like Canvas. In this particular case, so that's how they turn in the work to me. I give them the ability to record on Zoom. They go into breakout room and have a discussion. I end the meeting, I end class, they get a recording on their computer, and then they upload it into Canvas. Now from right here, though, to your second question about captions. For videos for my class, the way they use captions is they upload their work through something like Canvas Studio. Because with Canvas Studio, once they upload their video, they can go to the captions area, and then they can like request it and activate closed captions. And with something like Canvas Studio, it will automatically create closed captions for them. Local recordings, okay, so the way you activate that option just in general is, again, you have to do it in your account settings. So in my settings, local recording, so right here in the local recording, so I have local recording turned on. In addition to that, as an advanced local setting recording, there is host can give meeting participants permission to record locally. So anybody who was on a desktop or laptop, you can give them permission. Local recordings, like if a student is on a phone, they can't record locally, or on a tablet. But to your question, Carolyn, like how do you turn on that option? again, it's in your account settings, specifically under local recordings. Once you have local recording turned on, you could also toggle the option of giving people like local recording ability. Now a couple of oh, thank you, Mark. I appreciate the thumbs up. Also, I saw your thing. Don't worry. Your issue about the Wi-Fi and spidiness is an issue with recording sometimes, but if enough people record the meeting, like it works out. A couple of things. In order to get students to be more engaged, when you start a meeting, make sure to always turn on captions once you start a meeting. I tend to talk fast, and I have a lot of ELL students who tend to have trouble following with me because I tend to get like really excited and like in my own world as I teach. So having the captions makes it easier for ELL students to like, or for students who might be like who might have some type of hearing disability to like follow along visually by reading what I'm saying. Also, read chat comments out loud. So an issue for like screen readers and reading technology on Zoom is that like some screen readers and some stuff don't work on like through Zoom properly. So the reason why some of you put stuff in chat and I'm responding to stuff in chat and I say, oh, Patricia said this, is so that way I am audibly explaining the information that's sort of coming up that people might not have access to. Because like if somebody like calls in to the Zoom, like they can't read, like somebody who calls in cannot use chat. So that's why I'm audibly saying things. And you also want to share files that you use or display, which is why I showed all of you a Google slide. Like right now, I am on slide 15. So that way, you know sort of where things are at. Because one issue my students have said is that sometimes an instructor will lecture, but not give the material. So because a student doesn't have the material, it's harder for them to follow along with whatever's being lectured on. Plus, and that's also sort of why like so my slides look very boring, like, and I very admittedly do this. So the reason why my slides look sort of like trashy is because like if a student can't see this, or if a student's not like looking at this, I could just sort of exit here, copy this text, and then just put it in the chat. So that way, if a student goes into a breakout room, like they'll still have that information for them that's saved in the chat, or it's saved for them on the slides. It's like, okay, for discussion, remember, like your discussion is based on the questions on slide 7. All right, so now for the real meat of this, how do you engage students on Zoom? That's the entire point of this. It took me 50 minutes to get here. I know, like I tease with that. Like, how do I reach these kids? This is what a lot of my students say that they have problems with. I'm on slide 18 right now. So my students say, give participation points, don't lecture the whole time, give us space to talk, bring up things they can talk about too, share your material, and act like you care about teaching. Based on what my students have told me, these are strategies I've implemented. One, incentivizing interactions. So what Deborah said on how she doesn't share everything like with them immediately, like she shares with them only portions, and that's a way for students to interact and everything. Because once you give the students the answers, they don't need to pay attention. So like that's a really great teaching strategy by controlling when students get what. They say give participation points. I know faculty who will literally give extra credit to students if a student like turns their camera on and talk. And I know that's sort of like a sort of wishy-washy thing. Like I don't give extra credit for students to talk.
I don't think we're allowed to do that, are we? I was told
I
that we
mean,
cannot give points just for showing up or just for, can we do that?
I think that's up to like a teacher's discretion. So I do not give it, I personally don't believe in extra credit. Like, okay, I give students extra credit if they go to like campus or they attend a campus event, either in person or on Zoom. I give extra credit only to encourage students to utilize student resources and campus resources. But as a teaching thing, I don't give students extra credit for doing something in my class, because for my teaching philosophy, you're not going to get rewarded extra for doing your job. Because I personally, as a teacher, do not believe in that. Oh, sweet, Mark. Yeah, you start 10 to 15 minutes before. Yeah, that's great, right? Because that gives you time to converse with students, right? So like, don't lecture the whole time. like punctuate your lectures. So that's why, like, even as I'm like lecturing right now, I stop and ask questions and have people do stuff because I don't like explain things the whole time. I swear, like with Rita's beaker like thing and Carolyn's like emoja like that cartoon character, I will straight up have an entire I will derail my class to talk to my class about the most like irrelevant stuff. Um, but one thing is that students say that they need the space to talk and then things that they can talk about too. Because some of my students mentioned on how sometimes faculty are so worried about just explaining, like about giving the lecture, they don't actually give time to students to like internalize and to connect the lecture to their own lives. So part of that is like, how do you schedule, like if you're teaching, make sure to give time to students to like have discussions so they can connect the dot themselves. Oh, thank you, Mark, for clarifying. You can give points for class participation. I'm gonna get there in a couple minutes, Deborah. Like, I'm glad, Deborah, you said, but when you give them time to talk, they don't. I'm gonna explain a little tip on how you could sort of hold students accountable to that. It's not gonna be like it's not gonna be foolproof, but like here's something you could do. I know Juan, you're like, yeah, that's true. Like hashtag facts. Also, like give time for students like to actually lead discussions, share your documents, and then be enthusiastic. Like this is like the act like you care about teaching is probably the most arbitrary one because students straight up have teachers who just open Zoom, they lecture for an hour and 20 minutes, they just lecture from their slides for an hour 20 minutes. Okay, now that I've lectured, here's your homework. And then some students tell me that's why they don't like online or Zoom classes because they're like the teacher is just doing their job. Like they're not necessarily they're not teachers are not guiding learning. Teachers are just saying things because I don't know, to a degree, like we're taught as maybe as faculty to do that, but that's like one criticism. Now, to your point, Deborah, and then also Huang, is this here? Actually, let me skip down. Okay. Oh, thank you for the question, Valerie. Okay, so to your thing, Deborah and Huang. So one thing you can do is in the breakout room discussion. Again, this is a Zoom setting, and let me go to this. So in breakout rooms, hold on, breakout rooms. So if you have breakout rooms activated, there's a setting called allow host to view activity statuses of participants in breakout rooms. Let me show you what this looks like. So aside from me having students record their own meetings, I also, again, if you like can actively like toggle the status. So when my students are in breakout rooms, I can literally see myself, like I can view who has their camera on, whose mics are off. So for this room one, I can notice that Tiffany's the one talking right now, and that Mia, Joseph, and Jasmine are listening with their cameras on. And I can observe this while they're doing the discussions versus maybe room two, Burr is talking. Oh, I erase names for the sake of like privacy for my students. That's why you see things like wiped out. So for room two, Burr has their mic on, and like the fact that you see a little gray thing means that they're talking, but everybody else has their camera off. Versus like Lewis and Rand, you don't see a camera option because they're not connected to video. So either they are unable to like, so they can't show their screen, or they can't put themselves on camera because whatever device they're on, like they didn't connect to like video when they joined the meeting. So to Deborah and Huang's thing about like, ooh, you give them the space and they don't talk, like this is what I do. If I notice everybody's like mics and cameras are off, I will literally broadcast. I will broadcast my voice because that's another setting you could do. I'll broadcast a message and I will audibly tell people like, why is nobody in room two talking? Sorry, let me reshare because that is another Zoom setting. Sorry, and I know I'm throwing a lot at you. Thank you, Stacy, for like, I appreciate the head nodding. Ooh, Mark, I know you stepped away, but dang, I like that profile picture. All right, let me share my screen now with the new stuff. Oop. Okay, and again, in breakout rooms, there are two ways you can broadcast stuff. So you can broadcast a message, you can like type out something and then people get that as a dialogue pop up, or you can broadcast your voice. So like if people are in other rooms and you're noticing stuff, you can like broadcast your voice and be like, hey, sorry to interrupt everybody, but room 2, like y'all are messing up. Y'all act like do better. I'm watching you. And then that sort of scares students of like, turning your cameras on and mics on. For some people, some of you might think, oh, that's a little bit harsh, because legitimately sometimes shaming students is not a good way to teach. Like you don't want students to feel bad about something. So if you don't want to shame them in front of everybody, you could always just jump into that room and be like, hey, how come none of you are talking to each other? So that's a way you could do it like in a more private way. I just like doing it from like the main room because I do like calling people out. I personally like, I don't do like in a bad way, but like I tell students like if you do something wrong, I'm gonna tell you messed up and everybody's gonna know about it, because I want to create a disincentive for them to not interact. All right, let me share my screen and let's move forward. I might just like skip some stuff because I know I'm sort of throwing a lot and I want you all to have an opportunity. Wait, what part am I at? Okay, so a few tech tips. One, try to engage viewers. And I'm going to use like a Twitch example, encourage chat, like I've said, because again, if some people, like Zia said, cameras and mics might be a FERPA issue, but chat is not. So encouraging people to use chat is good. And also encourage small breakout rooms, things like that. When I say Twitch, for those who don't know, Twitch is a live streaming platform service. Most of the time, like people use it like to do DJing, like virtual concerts, or maybe you can watch somebody playing a game, or just literally have conversation with like random strangers and everything. So Twitch suggestions to engage viewers, which I think functionally work the same way here on Zoom as teachers, respond in stream when your community talks to you in chat. So I am looking at the chat because I want to respond to things. I'm not just listening to like, oh, you have to talk to interact with me. I'm looking at chat as well. You want to welcome and mention new people to your channel on stream. So when students come into your class on Zoom, they're like, oh, like, hey, what's up, Valerie? How you doing? Like, how you doing today? And to let them know that you know that they're there, and that you want to encourage people to talk to each other in the same way. Like Deborah asked, we're gonna get the slides, and then even in the chat, like Erin gave her like a reply with the link, right? You want to try to encourage people to talk to each other, not just to you. Chat, breakout rooms. Okay, I'm gonna explain this. So I have a virtual avatar. By the way, for some people, you can't do this. This depends on the device. But if you want to use a virtual avatar, like I am using right now, let me put this like in the chat. So if you, oh, Aaron did it. Let me put these directions in the chat. So to use a virtual avatar, so those are the directions. If you want to use a virtual avatar, again, you might not have it because not all devices can do it. But you want but in a Zoom meeting, you go to your settings, then you go to the background and effects area, and you might see an icon, a tab that says avatars beta. You click on the up arrow next to your video, and then you choose go to video settings. Then from there, hold on, let me stop annotating real quick. Open image in new tab. So then once you're in the your settings on Zoom during a meeting, you click on background and effects. And then from there, in the same area where you do your virtual background or video filters, if your computer can do it, or if your phone can do it, there should be an avatars tab in the background and effects area. Having
Yeah,
said
I just
that,
looked,
yeah.
I don't have that, so I'll see if I can turn that on. Okay, thanks.
Well, that would be probably more of a Zoom side, because even my phone can't do, I bought a new phone, and for some reason, my new phone cannot do it. My old phone can do it. Let me unspotlight you real quick, Carolyn. I mean, I assume some of the conversations are going well because like this is how I know all of you are like are better than my students because like when I close breakout rooms, everybody comes back immediately. Like I have to wait for everybody. Like, I assume the conversations are going so well that like they're gonna wait to get kicked out because everybody has like the last thing. Versus my students in my classes, it's always like no, they come back immediately. Oh, yeah, plus like I do the avatar when they're in breakout rooms. Like if a student like jumps back in, like imagine how creepy it would be if like a student gets kicked from a breakout room, they have to rejoin the meeting, and then they just see me doing this. Like this looks awkward as heck. Versus like I like whenever they do breakouts, I specifically do like my avatar so it doesn't look as creepy or weird. Like if people jump in either to ask me a question, oh Clara, oh the office, oh Pam, or yeah. So I do virtual avatars, like it like as waiting periods, like so that way visually it doesn't look weird for students. Whoa, Claire and Carolyn and Aaron. Oh, all right, damn, y'all had time to just like okay. For those who don't notice, the reason why Carolyn, Clara, and Aaron look like people is because if you can use virtual avatars, the default option are animals, but there's also like a design your own avatar. So like mine sort of looks like me, because I've really committed to like this whole Bob Ross thing. That is like my brand. I'm like a browner, shorter, less artistic Bob Ross, who is not quiet and calmful. I am very energetic. So I'm like Bob Ross, like except in no way am I like Bob Ross. Thank you for the thumbs up. I don't, yeah, like that's why I use the broadcast voice. And again, I publicly shame in a fun way. I publicly shame students in the class. Again, I'm not trying to be mean to students. I want to make sure I'm very clear about that because this meeting is being recorded, and like I don't want to get like one of you's going to take this recording, like clip out. If any of you do video editing, clip out me say I love publicly shaming students. Like boom, like let's get rid of this guy. Oh yeah, thank you, Deborah. You also probably noticed with Deborah's comment that she liked the reminder of the time. The reason why I did multiple time updates is because one issue is like if you broadcast a message, if there's too much content in the message that you're putting out as like text, some people might not read that quick enough. So I try to keep the information in the broadcast message short, and then I'll send it like a second time because that broadcast message I think appears for like 5 or 6 seconds, then it goes away. And some people like who can't read that fast. So if you have to do like a longer notification, you might copy like the message and then like broadcast that message, wait like 10 seconds, and then broadcast that same message again. I will tell you this much, Deborah. You said some students hate when someone else is slacking. You have no idea how true that is. Because like when I teach argumentation and debate, they have to do that. And managing groups in a Zoom class is so difficult. They absolutely like, I straight up am at this point now where my students know that they're going to be put on breakout rooms. Every class, they always remind me who not to put them in a room with because they straight up. So I have to spend more time because one of the other options with breakout rooms is you can manually put people in certain rooms. So I have to like, okay, these people don't like working with each other. So like you go like Deborah goes in room 1, but Deborah, I know you don't like Stacy, so then Stacy goes in room 2, things like that. Yeah, if I get really lazy, I just tell them, like, hey, you're in college, figure it out. Like if it gets really difficult as a classroom management task for me as an instructor, I tend to put more of the onus on students, or at least I give them like alternatives where if they have to do a presentation, but one person's not here, have the other person record themselves separately, then take the recording, go to a video editor, splice them into the presentation, and then just turn that in. Like that's a lot more back end work. Like I teach my students video editing skills so they know that earlier. But yeah, in terms of that, that's like an issue. Okay, if you have any other questions, I'm just gonna have this like last 30 minutes of time, so that way y'all could just like ask any questions, or like Steven, like you're gonna rewatch some stuff. Maybe if there's something I need to go over again, like you can let me know that. And it's mostly at this point, it's just gonna be like me awkwardly like just sort of being right here, unless like any of you interact with me, because I pretty much cover everything. I don't know what else to do now.
I have a question, Alex.
Yeah.
Do you use any external devices? Like, I don't think you said you had your phone just in case you cut off. What about, do you use anything else like an iPad or something to annotate something better, to, you know, highlight something on the screen? In addition, do you use any other devices to help you capture the attention and also, like I said, emphasize things that you're teaching?
But to your question though, on any other devices I use, not really. I try to limit the things I use. So like I limit the technology and also the tools I use because I want to simplify things as much as possible. I I do have a tablet where if I was on my tablet, I can be on the meeting and like I can annotate on the tablet more easily. But I tend not to do that because I try to replicate making it as easy as possible. So I'm on my laptop. So when I annotate, I have like I have like a touchpad and like a mouse to do that. I only have my phone for that. I also personally limit the use of external tools. So most of the time, the only time I ever have students do stuff is like on Google Slides or Google Docs or Google Sheets. I personally do not use Kahoot. I don't use like Slack or Discord because for students who are mobile users, having students use more digital tools, well, is good to increase student engagement. If a student is only like on a crappy like iPhone 4 or something like that, them using like other like oh, in order to do this activity, you have to go to like argumentationflowmap.com or something like that. And that's difficult. So simple answer, geez, I talk too much. No, Aaron, I do not use extra devices. I do have extra devices. I tend to only use them to test things out. So yeah, so my students can annotate on a cell phone. So I test stuff out like with my cell phone. Like students can share their screen on their cell phone. So and I test that out. Thank you for that like heads up. Thank you for you are a wonderful professor. Thank you for putting YOU in all caps lock. Really emphasize that. I love how you're using like emphasis tech like as a text thing. Yeah, I tend to be glass half empty type of person. I'm very like not imposter syndrome. I wouldn't say imposter syndrome, but I tend to be like I tend to look at issues. I tend because I have a oh thank you ta-da thing. Yeah, I tend to be very like what are problems to fix, which is why I tend to throw things out. At the very least, I like to punctuate my lectures, which is why like on my slides I have like the list of questions, and then that way I can copy and paste it. Because if somebody like maybe not looking at like the screen as they're doing it, they at least have the reference in the slides. I tend to do a lot of I encourage mostly participation via chat. Unless students are doing presentations or they have to do a discussion in a breakout room, I never require students to have their cameras in the main room. Well, okay. So the reason why I don't require cameras on all the time is because if you're on a cell phone, that's more data usage because every time a camera's on, that's more data. And also that's more processing power. So like if you require students to like, oh, everybody have cameras on and they're on a phone, like all the cameras on takes more processing power, which means like the camera has to process that more, which means the battery overheats. When the battery starts to overheat, it goes into battery saving mode, which disconnects you from the internet because the battery in the phone have to cool down. Cool. For the person who DM'd me, I'll wait till sort of like the workshop. Actually, no, I'll show you right now. So one person rejoined, so I could sort of show them how to do the virtual avatars. Y'all mind if I just go over that one more time? I know there's officially 10 minutes left. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So let me go through this. Wait, why am I getting notifications? Oh. Let me share my screen. Turn off video clip. Turn off sound. So, Carolyn, in order to do a virtual avatar, like I can only show you pictures because I cannot display like this my Zoom menu right now. Zoom virtual avatar. This is the large one. Okay. So there are two parts to it. Is this like the large one? Sorry, I'm trying to find like the largest picture to make it easier to display. Okay, it's 1700. I can work with that. Okay, so if you look at this GIF, you'll notice that. Hold on, let me show so notice that in order for this person to do it, during a meeting, there's a little up, like an up arrow icon next to the video button. It might look like a down arrow too, but there's an arrow next to the video button. You click on that, then you go to video, choose a virtual background, and in background and effects, next to video filters and virtual backgrounds, there's an avatars button. Again, it might not work, that might not show on your computer because not all devices like can do it right now. That's a Zoom issue. They're adding more devices that are able to do it probably every day, but if your computer is able to do a virtual avatar in the background and effects setting during a Zoom meeting, next to the virtual background and video filters, there's an avatar. There should be an avatar button. If you do not see that button, then that means that your computer can't like process it right now. So let me stop sharing. No problem. Yeah, try it out. See if you can like find it. If you like, yeah, and if you don't see it, then like that's how you know. All right, 7:52. Oh, what else we talk about? There's 8 minutes left. By the way, 8 minutes left. You've noticed some people already left. I don't want any of you to feel like, oh, this guy's still talking, I should still stay. If you want to leave, like I have nothing else to teach. Like that's it. Like I'm like, if you have like a Canvas question or something, like if there's something I can answer or that other people can answer, by all means stick around. If you'd rather like spend the last 8 minutes leaving and doing the survey too, I got to do that plug. I got to plug the survey. I personally think part of that is how do us as instructors create time in class to do that? Because I straight up, I have colleagues in my own discipline, communication studies, who will actively lecture for the entire class time because number one, they're not comfortable with Zoom. So they would rather just talk for, like Aaron was saying, they'd rather just talk for X amount of time to eat up time. And also because in their viewpoint, like, oh, like they know students don't read the textbook. So the only way the students like will learn the material is if the students listen during a lecture, even though if a teacher, arguably, I'm not saying this happens, if a teacher makes a student read a chapter, and then the teacher just spends the class talking about the chapter, like then that doesn't create an incentive for students to read stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, but again,
and you're just reading to them, they think, like,
yeah.
why are you, I already read this, why are you? So
Yeah,
do you,
but yeah, but there's
just
some styles
ask
that,
a
like,
lot of questions and just stop every once in a while?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's why even for my classes, like I never talk for this amount of time for my classes ever. I will start class with a discussion. They have to talk about stuff in breakout rooms as like a warm-up. That's not being recorded. Then they come back in the main room. I lecture about something, or I do what you suggested. Or maybe like, and someone said it, I forgot who said it in the chat, but like you play them a video and then you have to like analyze and critique the video. And then from there, and again, that's a good use of multimedia. That's like another strategy I don't really talk about. But yeah, playing multimedia for them, giving them artifacts to sort of like deconstruct and analyze and critique, that they have a discussion about that. And even for my classes personally, and again, like I teach communication studies, so it's relatively easy for me to get students to communicate because that's part of the coursework that I do. Like if it was like a math class, there's no incentive, or like Zia might disagree because I know Zia, you said your math, like some disciplines, like how do you create an incentive for students to interact when the material does not require any form of interaction?
Yeah.
Even for an argumentation class, I tell my students for an argumentation class, because like they're having trouble with a certain policy we're doing. I just told them, go to ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT to write you like an essay or give you the argument on this side of this particular topic, and then we'll just take a look at what everybody put in ChatGPT, because the answers are always different, right? And then like, okay, cool. What are the things I'll have in common? What if there were technologies? Okay, so some instructors think ChatGPT and anything AI counts as academic dishonesty because the student is not getting original work. But then what if we used, and this is sort of a tangent, what if like a tool exists that's within it? So for example, so ChatGPT is a website students go to. Let me show you something right now. So for my class, for public speaking orientation, they have to make slides because they have to use a presentation tool as they talk. But right now, Microsoft has something called 365 Copilot. They've
Copilot,
integrated,
it's called?
yeah, I don't know how much it costs right now, but yeah, Microsoft has a tool called 365 Copilot. It
Okay.
essentially it integrates what ChatGPT, it integrates AI, natural language technology into it. So for example, this person wants to create an email to people, inviting them to like their daughter's birthday or something like that. And then they could do that. Versus, wait, is this the video? Oh no, this is not the right video. So I make students use presentation aids. One issue is that students in this district have access to Microsoft products as being a student in here because
Right.
our district licenses that.
Right.
But Microsoft 365 Copilot, straight up, if a student wanted to to make a presentation, they can literally go to Microsoft PowerPoint and tell Copilot, make a presentation that has this type of stuff and everything. And then, lo and behold, they tell Copilot what a presentation they want to be made, and then it will make it for them.
Oh my God.
Now, this isn't a thing right now. Like right now, 365 isn't part of like Outlook, isn't part of the 365 online. It's not part of the cloud. But like, what if in like 6 months, Microsoft actually does get this to work online? Or what if a student, again, who does pay for Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and Excel, because those are tools that we as a district use for them, like now, like, how do I teach students like how to make a presentation aid when it does it for them? Easy. I will now in the future teach students, here's how to use this technology. So that way, like, and then they'll find out other ways. I know it's 11:02. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm in my room. Like I'm in my room. Like I'm in my house. So yeah, I'm more than happy to have a conversation. I'm gonna stop the recording. So that
Yeah.
way people who have left the meeting, like once you leave the meeting, you'll get a recording. And officially it's the end of time. Hey, Jonathan, oh, you turned the camera on too. So I'll stop recording right now. So like on your Zoom toolbar, if you're running a meeting, you
Okay,
click
I'm
on the
looking.
apps button, then you click on the timer button or on the timer app, and then you can like set the time and then like you'll see a timer.
Right.
And as long as your video is on, students will be able to see the timer. As a secondary benefit, for some instructors who find it difficult to wait
Right.
for students to ask a question, this also gives you the opportunity, like, okay, cool. This how much time has gone by and how much time is left.
Because
So
it
that
feels
will,
like forever, of course.
yeah, right.